Hello and welcome to the Election Corner on One Man Think Tank. Today I'm going to be taking a brief overview of the presidential primary polls for the Democratic Party and making my guess on where they're going to be headed, or prediction to sound more intelligent about it. The primary debate, the sixth one, just wrapped up mere moments ago. And if there's one thing I can comment on about it, there were a lot of winners, but definitely one big loser, and that was Mayor Buttigieg. Everyone ganged up on him, including candidates such as Klobuchar, who I was expecting to play nice throughout the debate, really went after him. The only candidate that didn't seemed to be Steyer, though he didn't exactly support him either. Looking at these national polls I have up on your screens, you can see Joe Biden is still very much in the lead, having a slight increase off last time. Sanders has also begun to increase in his polling support. Warren, while having fallen quite far, has begun to stabilize at around 15%. I imagine that when it comes time for the actual votes to be held, she will place in all of the states, though I'm not sure if we'll see her return to this massive surge in support she had back in late bit of this year, between October and November. While Pete Buttigieg appears to have plateaued and seems to be starting to decline, something this most recent debate I think won't help him with. But let's not just stop here. Let's go on to the actual states, over to Iowa, which will be the first one held in February, early February, at the Iowa caucuses. Right now, Pete Buttigieg is ahead, but as you can see, there seems to be a new rising star, Bernie Sanders, looking like he's on track to overtake Biden and overtake Buttigieg again. Warren seems to have stabilized at around 13%. Sanders, like I said, is rising, having gone from a short-term low of around 17 points to a new high of around 19. Pete Buttigieg, who once had a commanding lead at 25% over all of his opponents, has now dropped down to around 20%, a 5-point drop. And as I said before, I think his time in the sun might have passed. Biden has started to stabilize, returning to about 20%, which is good for him and his usual average. I think the main question will come out of tonight are, how far will Buttigieg drop, how far will Warren rise, and how far will Amy Klobuchar rise? She did a very good job in this debate, and I think could have easily stolen some support off Pete Buttigieg. So, with that, I'm going to give a short little prediction on how the Iowa caucuses will shake out. I'm going to do a more in-depth video on what each candidate needs to do to win sometime next week. But I believe the Iowa caucuses will shake out as follows. All candidates who are currently down here, these are the Yangs, the Steyers, the Bookers, the Gabbards, the Bloombergs, everyone who's below 3%, given the nature of a caucus, will end up going to someone else. The Gabbards I could see easily breaking for someone like Sanders, the Bloombergs for Biden, the Bookers and Steyers probably for Warren. The Yangs will go all over the place. Klobuchar I could see either Klobuchar or Buttigieg will place. I don't think both of them will. Given how that debate went, I'm willing to bet that it will be Klobuchar who places, not Buttigieg, though we still have another debate and whole month and a half ahead of us before we have the actual Iowa caucuses. And a lot, as you can see, can change in a month. The candidate which will come away with the most votes will be Senator Sanders. He has the strongest support out of every candidate in the sense of his supporters will stick with him. I believe he's polling in the upper 60s now, while Biden and Warren are both in the 30s. Actually, I think Warren's in the 40s, Biden's in the low 30s, high 20s. This means that their voters could be easily convinced to join someone else. However, I think Biden, just going off name recognition, will place, though out of the two candidates, Sanders will overperform, Biden will underperform. Warren, I think, will gain and probably place. I think she'll come in with about 15% of the vote, around 17, tying with Biden. Sanders will come in somewhere around 22, and the Buttigieg and Klobuchar, one of the two will come in at around 15. This will overall make it clear Sanders won the Iowa caucus, but he will not walk away with a majority of the electors, or delegates. Now over to New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, you can see the race has tightened up significantly, with Sanders barely in the lead by 0.2%. Now, New Hampshire is a primary state, not a caucus state, and as such, someone like Biden is going to do very well here when people get strategic in the voting booth. I think Buttigieg, as I said before, is on the decline. He will still place, but I think coming not so hot in Iowa will cause him to lose support, while Warren and Biden may gain it in return. Sanders could also pick some up, coming in first. But I predict Sanders will tie with Biden and Warren in all but theory. There will be a lot of candidates who end up with a smattering of about 4 to 5%. And then someone like Buttigieg and Klobuchar leeching off each other enough, causing them to both miss the cutoff for delegates, turning this again into a three-way race. This leads us to our third of the 4 states, Nevada. In Nevada, Biden has a distinct lead, but once again, Nevada is a caucus state, and Sanders has shown to be very good in Nevada, especially with the Latino vote. So I imagine Biden could underperform and Sanders could overperform again, especially given the fact that, as I said before, there's a good chance Sanders will walk away, possibly winning both Iowa and New Hampshire. Warren will continue to be buoyed, while I think Buttigieg at this point will be down for the count, resulting in Sanders and Biden tying, while Warren comes in a watery third. And the last of the 3 states, and the most important in the count of delegates, is South Carolina, where Joe Biden has a solid lead. There is, I think, unless he is completely locked out of Iowa and New Hampshire, Biden will win South Carolina, with an individual like Sanders gaining a minority of the vote, but overall this will benefit Biden and help him leading into Super Tuesday, giving him the largest count of delegates, possibly flipping things on its head. However, given the fact it's the last of the first 4, there's always room for South Carolina to flip entirely. And as black voters begin to lose support in Biden, they could go to whoever they view as the frontrunner, especially someone like Bernie Sanders, who can push his I Marched with Martin Luther King photographs, which will help, I imagine, a decent amount. So at the end of it, you'll end up with Sanders in second, but having won 3 states, Biden in first, but only having won 1, and Warren hanging in there at third. Buttigieg and Klobuchar will probably be hanging on but they will not last through Super Tuesday. Most of the other candidates, including Yang, Booker, Bloomberg, Bloomberg will probably hang on, but Bloomberg and Gabbard will hang on. Booker, Williamson, Patrick, Delaney, Castro will probably drop out at this point, accepting that they've lost, whether they like it or not. It's an unfortunate turn of events when you're in this type of campaign, but there are many people who will hang in there way too long. And the big issue is the fact that these are going to be happening during primary states. They will hang on at least through New Hampshire. And in a caucus, there's the deliberative portion of it, however, it has its own issues. I'm not in any way attempting to say the caucus is better than the primary. Each have their own benefits, each have their own detriments. However, these little hangers-on down here who, between the lot of them, are worth at least 1 solid delegate, will most likely hang on and prevent the delegates from being distributed to the other candidates. Which is unfortunate to say the least. But what can you do? Democrats need more reform in their primary, as do the Republicans. Well, with that being said, this has been One Man Think Tank. If you liked the video, please like down below as the button is described. If you would like to share your opinion, please leave a comment in the comment section. And if you wish to see more content like this, as well as policy positions coming soon, please remember to click subscribe and click that notification bell as well, so you are notified when new content is released to the channel. Otherwise, as always, have a wonderful day.